I remember going back to the newsroom and saying, I think I just met the next Steve Jobs.
Really?
And
okay,
I'm going to hold to that.
Okay.
You send out a post or an X or a tweet.
Yeah,
I don't know what
post,
you want to
whatever,
describe it as. And at some point, I don't know where you were, but you write in responding to another tweet.
Yes.
This is the actual truth. And it set off a firestorm of criticism all the way to the White House.
Right.
And then you make this trip to Israel. You have advertisers who've left the platform.
The trip to Israel is independent of it wasn't some apology tour. I want to be clear. That was.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. So just take us back to the moment at which you write that.
Trip to Israel is independent of. It wasn't like in response to that at all.
Well, we'll do Israel in just a moment.
And I have no problem being hated, by the way. I think it's a real weakness to want to be liked. A real weakness. And I do not have that.
If X is going to become a financial platform where people are going to put their money, where the government's going to give you money for rockets, where people are going to get into the cars, they need to ultimately decide that you are. Maybe they don't have to decide that they love you, but that you are ultimately a decent and good human being.
Yes, I mean, I think I am, but I'm certainly not going to do some sort of tap dance to prove to people that I am. As for trust, I mean, I think we break that down in a few ways. If you want satellites sent to orbit reliably, SpaceX will do 80% of all mass to orbit this year. China will do 12%. The rest of the world will do 8%. That includes Boeing, Lockheed, and everyone else. So the track record of the rocket is the best by far of anything. You could not trust me. It is relevant. The rocket track record speaks for itself. With respect to Tesla, we make the best cars. Whether you hate me, like me, or indifferent, do you want the best car or do you not want the best car? And Jonathan, the only reason I'm here is because you are a friend. What was my speaking fee?
You're not making any. First of all, I'm Andrew, but
yeah, sorry,
it's okay. You write this tweet that says that this is the actual truth. People read that tweet.
Yes.
And they say Elon Musk is an anti-Semite, that he is riling up this base. You're hearing it from, as I said, the White House. You're hearing it from Jewish groups all over. I think Jonathan Greenblatt from the ADL is here. There's lots of people who say this. And by the way, it's not just that.
Did you read the whole thing?
I did, and that's why I want to ask you about it.
And the responses?
Excuse me?
I said more.
More responses?
Yeah, I said more than what you just read.
Yes, no, there was absolutely more.
Yes. Well, first of all, I did clarify almost immediately what I meant. I would say that was, if I could go back and say, I should, in retrospect, not have replied to that particular person, and I should have written in greater length as to what I meant. I did subsequently clarify it in replies, but those clarifications were ignored by the media, and essentially I handed a loaded gun to those who hate me, and arguably to those who are anti-Semitic. And for that, I'm quite sorry. That was not my intention. So I did, post on my primary timeline to be absolutely clear that I'm not anti-Semitic, and that I, in fact, if anything, am philo-Semitic. And the trip to Israel was planned before any of that happened.
What was that trip like? And obviously, you know that there's a public perception that, and you're clarifying this now, but there's a public perception that was part of a apology tour, if you will. That this had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger today.
I hope they stop.
You hope?
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself.
But
go yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
Well, let me ask you then.
That's how I feel. Don't advertise.
How do you think then about the economics of X? If part of the underlying model, at least today, and maybe it needs to shift, maybe the answer is it needs to shift away from advertising. if you believe that this is the one part of your business where you will be beholden to those who have this view, what do you do?
Why?
I understand that, but there's a reality too, right?
Yes. No.
I mean, Linda
no,
Yaccarino's right here, and she's got to sell advertising.
Absolutely. Actually, what this advertising boycott is going to do, it's going to kill the company. And the whole world will know that those advertisers killed the company, and we will document it in great detail.
But those advertisers, I imagine, are going to say, we didn't kill the company.
Oh, yeah?
They're going to say...
Tell it to Earth.
But they're going to say, Elon, that you killed the company because you said these things, and that they were inappropriate things, and that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform, right? That's what they're going to say.
And let's see how Earth responds to that. We'll both make our cases.
Right.
And we'll see what the outcome is.
What are the economics of that for you? I mean, you have enormous resources, so you can actually keep this company going for a very long time. Would you keep it going for a long time if there was no advertising?
I mean, if the company fails because of an advertiser boycott, it will fail because of an advertiser boycott. And that will be what bankrupted the company, and that's what everybody on Earth will know. And it'll be gone because of an advertiser boycott.
But you recognize that some of those people are going to say that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform. And I just wonder and ask you and think about that for a second.
Tell it to the judge.
But the judge is going to be...
The judge is the public.
And you think that the public is going to say that Disney is making a mistake?
Yes.
And they're going to boycott Disney?
They already are. Let the chips fall where they may. Let the chips fall where they may. And Tesla's gotten to where it's gotten with no advertising at all.
I understand that.
Tesla currently sells twice as much in terms of electric vehicles as the rest of electric car makers in the United States combined. Tesla has done more to help the environment than all other companies combined. It would be fair to say that, therefore, as a leader of the company, I've done more for the environment than everyone else, any single human on Earth.
How do you feel about that?
How do I feel about that?
Yeah, no, I'm asking you personally how you feel about that, because we're talking about power and influence and...
I'm saying what I care about is the reality of goodness, not the perception of it. And what I see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil. F*** them. Okay?
Let me ask you this, because I think part of this, by the way, there's some people who said, look, owning X to begin with has just created problems, that you've created so many amazing things that are changing our world. And I know you want to make X this fabulous town square free speech platform, but that unto itself that has created such a distraction of all of these things. This is the conversation we're having. We're not focused, or we're not talking at least yet, and we will. On Tesla, you have your Cybertruck deliveries tomorrow and everything else that you're doing. But
yes,
is there any...
it will be the biggest product launch of anything by far on Earth this year. I'm sorry for that tweet or post. It was foolish of me. Of the 30,000, it might be literally the worst and dumbest post that I've ever done. And I try my best to clarify 6 ways to Sunday. But, at least I think over time it will be obvious that, in fact, far from being anti-Semitic, I'm in fact philo-Semitic. And all the evidence in my track record would support that. The aspiration for X is to be the global town square. And you can also look at Tesla as being sort of many companies in one. Like our supercharging network is, if the Tesla supercharging network were its own company, it would be a Fortune 500 company by itself. Just the supercharging system. We also make the cells. We build the power electronics and the powertrain from scratch. We have the most innovative structural design, the largest castings ever used. We have the best manufacturing technology at Tesla, better manufacturing technology than companies that have been doing it for 100 years.
You have a very interesting history where people have told you over and over again that you're wrong.
Well, sometimes they're right.
Well, sometimes they are, but I would say that when it comes to Tesla, when it came to SpaceX, people told you that you were crazy. You were out of your mind. This was never going to happen. This was never going to work. And so the reason I ask you this, though, is now when people say you're wrong, this isn't right. Do you look at that and say, you know what, that's like a red flag for me because, you know, I've been told so often that I'm wrong that I know that I know I'm right because I've had that experience. Or are there people in your life when they say, you know what, Elon, this is not right? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think what you're sort of trying to say is that, do I at this point think because I've been right so many times when others have said I'm wrong, that now I have to believe I'm right when in fact I'm wrong?
You did very well. What do you think?
No, I'm right. Look, here's the thing. Physics is unforgiving. Physics is unforgiving. So, I mean, I have, you know, these various little sayings I've come up with that physics is the law and everything else is a recommendation.
Right.
In the sense that you can break any law made by humans, but try breaking a law made by physics. That's much more difficult. So if you are wrong and persist in being wrong, the rockets will blow up and the cars will fail. Right. We're not trying to just figure out what flavor of ice cream is the best flavor of ice cream.
Right.
Like, if there's 1,000 things that can happen on a rocket flight, and only one of them gets the rocket to orbit. And so being wrong results in failure when dealing with physical objects. OpenAI was actually started, and it was meant to be open source. I named it OpenAI after open source. It is, in fact, closed source, super closed. It should be renamed super closed source for maximum profit AI. So, because this is what it actually is. But with AI, you've got the magic genie problem. You may think you want a magic genie, but once that genie's out of the bottle, it's hard to say what happens.
How far are we away from that genie being out of the bottle, you think? We think it's already out?
I mean, the genie's certainly poking its head out.
The AGI, the idea of artificial general intelligence, given what you now are working on yourself and you know how easy or hard it is to train, to create the inferences, to create the weights. I hope I'm not getting too far in the weeds of just how this works, but those are the basics behind the software end of this.
I think it's coming pretty fast, you know.
Is that, I mean, you famously have admitted to overstating how quickly things will happen, but how quickly do you think this will happen?
If you say smarter than the smartest human at anything,
yep,
it may not be then quite smarter than all humans, all machine-augmented humans, you know, because people have got computers and stuff. There's a higher bar. But if you say smarter than any, you know, can write as good a novel as, say, J.K. Rowling, or discover new physics, or invent new technology, I would say that we are less than 3 years from that point.
You've been very frustrated with the Biden administration over, I think, unions and feeling like they did not respect what you've created.
Well, I mean, without any doing nothing to provoke the Biden administration, they held an electric vehicle summit at the White House and specifically refused to let Tesla attend. This was in the first 6 months of the administration. And we inquired, we literally make more electric cars than everyone else combined. Why are we not allowed? Why are you only letting Ford, GM, Chrysler, and UAW, and you're specifically disallowing us from the EV summit at the White House? We'd done nothing to provoke them. Then Biden went on to add insult to injury and publicly said that GM was leading the electric car revolution. This was in the same quarter that Tesla made 300,000 electric cars and GM made 26. Does that seem fair to you?
It doesn't seem fair. And I've asked repeatedly, you've probably seen me.
And by the way, I had a great relationship with Obama. So there's not a...
So, but then there's
I voted for Obama. I stood in line for 6 hours to shake Obama's hand. Okay?
So let me just ask on a personal level. I can see it in your face. This hurt you personally.
And it hurt the company, too. And it was an insult to, Tesla has 140,000 employees. Okay, half of them are in the United States. Tesla has created more manufacturing jobs than everyone else combined.
The government put in place lots of policies, as you know, to try to encourage more EVs. And one of the things that's happened uniquely is you have now a lot of car companies saying, actually, this is too ambitious for us. These plans are too ambitious. 4,000 dealers, I don't know if you saw just yesterday, sent a letter to the White House saying, this has gone too far. You're going too far. You had this
anti-EV?
This is going too fast, too far, and that there's not enough demand. Underneath all of this is this idea that maybe there's not enough demand for EVs, that the American public has not bought into they bought into it with your company, but they haven't bought into it broadly enough.
Well, I think if you make a compelling electric car, people will buy it, no question about it. Electric car sales in China are gigantic. That's by far the biggest category.
Right.
And I think that would be the case, it's worth noting, probably the best refutation of that is that the Tesla Model Y will be the best-selling car of any kind on Earth this year. Of any kind, gasoline or otherwise.
Is there another car company that you think is doing a good job with EVs?
I think the Chinese car companies are extremely competitive. By far our toughest competition is in China. So, there's a lot of people who out there who think like the top 10 car companies are going to be Tesla, followed by 9 Chinese car companies. I think they might not be wrong. Like if we consider different leagues of competitiveness at Tesla, we consider the Chinese league to be the most competitive. And by the way, we do very well in China because our China team is the best China.
How worried are you that the unionization effort that just took place I shouldn't say effort, but the new wages and the like at GM and Ford that they're coming for you? And they are coming for you. What is that going to mean to you and your business?
Well, I think it's generally not good to have an adversarial relationship between people on the line, one group at the company and another group. In fact, I disagree with the idea of unions, but perhaps for a reason that is different than people may expect, which is I just don't like anything which creates kind of a lords and peasants sort of thing. And I think the unions naturally try to create negativity in a company and create a sort of lords and peasants situation. There are many people at Tesla who have gone from working on the line to being in senior management. There is no lords and peasants. Everyone eats at the same table. Everyone parks in the same parking lot. At GM, there's a special elevator only for senior executives. We have no such thing at Tesla. And the thing is that I actually know the people on the line because I worked on the line, and I walked the line, and I slept in the factory, and I worked beside them. So I'm no stranger to them. And there are actually many times where I've said, well, can't we just hold a union vote? But apparently a company is not allowed to hold a union vote. So it has to be somehow called for, but the unions can't do it. So I said, well, let's just hold a vote and see what happens. The actual problem is the opposite. It's not that people are trapped at Tesla building cars. The challenge is how do we retain great people to do the hard work of building cars when they have like 6 other opportunities that they can do that are easier. That's the actual difficulty, is that building cars is hard work and there are much easier jobs. And I just want to say that I'm incredibly appreciative of those who build cars, and they know it. So there's I don't know, maybe there will be unionized. If I say, like, if Tesla gets unionized, it will be because we deserve it and we failed in some way. But we certainly try hard to, ensure the prosperity of everyone. We give everyone stock options. We've made many people who are just working the line, who didn't even know what stocks were, we've made them millionaires.
There's a big question about autonomous vehicles and the safety of them. But there's also a question about when it will be politically palatable in this country for people to die in cars that are controlled by computers, which is, say, we have 35,000, 40,000 deaths every year in this country.
Yeah.
If you could bring that number down to 10,000, 5,000, that might be a great thing. But do we think that the country will accept the idea that 5,000 people, that your family, might have perished in a vehicle as a result not of a human making a mistake, but of a computer?
Yes. Well, first of all, humans are terrible drivers. So people text and drive, they drink and drive, they get into arguments, they do all sorts of things in cars that they should not do. So it's actually remarkable that there are not more deaths than there are. What we'll find with computer driving is, I think, probably an order of magnitude reduction in deaths. I think now, and the U.S. has actually far fewer deaths per capita than the rest of the world. If you go worldwide, I think there's something close to 1 million deaths per year due to automotive accidents. So I think computer driving will probably drop that by 90% or more. It won't be perfect, but it'll be 10 times better.
And do you think that the public will accept that? Do you think the government will accept that?
Well, in large numbers, it will simply be so obviously true that it really cannot be denied. I think I'm naturally optimistic about timescales, and if I was not naturally optimistic, I wouldn't be doing the things that I'm doing. I certainly wouldn't have started a rocket company or an electric car company if I didn't have some sort of pathological optimism, frankly. As you pointed out, many people said they would fail, and in fact, I agreed with them. I said, yes, it probably will fail. And they're like, okay. But I thought SpaceX and Tesla had less than a 10% chance of success when we started them. The self-driving thing is I've been optimistic about it. We've certainly made a lot of progress. If anybody has tried, has been using the sort of full self-driving beta, the progress is, every year has been substantial. It's really now at the point where, in most places, it'll take you from one place to another with no interventions. And the data is unequivocal that supervised full self-driving is somewhere around 4 times safer, or maybe more, than just a human driving by themselves. So I can certainly see it coming. Actually, really,
but do you think it's another 5 or 10 years? I mean, people say...
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
And do you feel like investors have invested in something that hasn't happened yet? Is that fair to them? And that's the other question that people have about that.
Well, I mean, I think they've all, with rare exception, thought it wasn't happening. So they were investing despite thinking. They're very clear that they don't think it's real. So they're not saying, oh, we just believe everything Elon says, hook, line, and sinker. But the thing is that, I mean, I would be a fair criticism of me to say that I am late, but it isn't. But I always deliver in the end.